here from Bellevue, Washington. And with me, I have Gani Zahid, who's going to be co-presenting this webcast, open house live webcast with me. Hey, Gani, how are you doing? Ooh.
Hey, Suzanne. Good. How are you?
Pretty good. All right, just checking. Is everyone seeing us, hearing us? We are getting started. So we're going to spend the next 30 minutes going through an overview of Nucamp. And while we do that, you can ask your questions here on YouTube. I'm seeing the chat on YouTube here. So ask your question in the chat while we actually make that presentation. Or you can also post your comments on Facebook. We are broadcasting as well live on Facebook. And so what we'll do is once we're done with presenting to you what Nucamp is about, and that's going to take us 30 minutes, we're going to switch to a real live Q&A. So we'll go through your questions as you post them on YouTube as well as Facebook, and Gani and I will actually just answer them one by one. All right, so let's get started. Let me introduce myself. I'm Ludo Faraj, founder and CEO of Nucamp. And as I mentioned, Gani Zahid is with me today. Gani actually is an instructor first, but also a career coach with us. And so Gani will talk to you about our curriculum and answer your questions later on. And so hi Karim, hi Gustavo, Hehab Mo 36, hello. We'll get to your questions in about 30 minutes. All right, so very first thing, of course, that you must be asking yourself is what is Nucamp? You probably already know that we are a coding bootcamp, one of many, as you can imagine, but we are a little bit different. Actually, we are very different from many other coding bootcamps. One thing that makes us very different is really our drive to support a social mission. And that social mission really started by providing the most affordable coding bootcamp that you will find in the US. Not only it is the most affordable, but we really wanted to bring coding education to you where you live, no matter where you live, versus only a few cities in the US. So we have presence in 180 cities in the US right now. We're very proud of that. Of course, the pandemic has kind of challenged everyone, and including us. So right now our bootcamps are online, but we do otherwise have in-person presence in those cities. So when it's safe to get back to that, we'll do that, and hopefully by the end of 2021. And then what's really interesting and very exciting for us is we are right now ranked number 3 by our graduates. So if you check out our our course report, if you check out us on Career Karma or SwitchUp, you'll see that we are actually receiving the most ratings from graduates. And I will say, without maybe revealing too much, that we are expecting to become the number 1 rated coding bootcamp in the US in a few weeks. So that's going to be a very big deal for us. Now that's interesting, but really, if I put myself in your shoes, these are not necessarily the reasons why you will choose Nucamp. You really want to understand how that fits your life, how coding bootcamp can actually work for you. And so let me explain to you how, if you were to compare the different experiences that you will get with coding bootcamps, where do we sit? What do we provide, and how different are we? And so the very first thing that most of you I know are looking into is online coding bootcamps or online learning. And we know that because I would say that 50% of our students come from that standpoint. And what's really great about online bootcamps is it's very inexpensive. It's available everywhere. You can start, you can stop at any time. It's very much the best way to get started in building that career to become a web developer. The quality of the content is also very often great. I mean, you can buy $10 worth of a 200-hour course with a great instructor. So there's a lot of great things about online bootcamps and online learning. There's a downside though, and it's a significant one, which is only 3% of people starting online actually finish it and actually accomplish their goals. And the reason is kind of obvious. It's inexpensive. There's no real strings attached. There's no support either. There's no real path. And there's so many options online that it's very hard for anyone to just pick one and get the support that they need in order to complete what they meant to do in, let's say, 3, 4, 5 months. Only 3% of online learners really make it through that self-directed 3 months, 4 months, 5 months effort to actually learn on their own. And so on the other end of the spectrum, what you will have is what I will call the traditional boot camps. And the traditional boot camps are everything that online learning or online bootcamp is not, meaning they're more expensive, they're not everywhere. But what they do focus on is providing you the support that online doesn't have. So it's very immersive. You're going to be with other students, oftentimes locally on the campus. You're going to have the support of instructors. Every day, you know exactly what you'll need to do. Every week, the same. You'll have a start date and an end date. And that's great because that's really what you need to accomplish something. Now, like online learning, it has big downsides. And that is, if you want to benefit from that immersive experience, well, tough luck if you're already employed and you can't quit your job because you're not going to be able to do it full time, which is pretty much what those bootcamps are asking you to do. And then you're going to have to find the money because they're way more expensive than, you know, the $10 course that you can buy on Udemy. It's 10, 15, sometimes $40,000 if you pick an ISA. And then you'll have to be lucky enough to live nearby one. If you live in Seattle, great. If you live in San Francisco, great. New York. But then if you live in Lexington, it's going to be tough. If you live in Knoxville, it's going to be tough. You may actually not have one. Or if you live just an hour away from that, it's a big commute. And so that's really the challenge with those traditional boot camps. In addition to that, with COVID and the pandemic, almost all of those boot camps are also online. So you got to wonder, why would you pay the money to actually not be in person full time and get that immersion? So with that said, that's very much why we created Nucamp in 2017. It's been 5 years now. We really wanted to bring the best of both worlds. We really realized and recognized that it's great to be for a bootcamp to be available online, to be easy to access, to be inexpensive. But it's also great to have the support of an instructor, of other classmates, of really having that immersive experience. And so we did something that nobody else did before, because it's very hard to bring those two together at the right price point. We actually made online learning immersive. We made online learning with the support of an instructor like Gani that we have here, with other classmates. And we kept the pricing, the tuition super low. It's not $10, but it's not $15,000. It's less than $2,000. And then we brought that to everywhere pretty much in the US. So that's very much how we think about the differences of what we have to offer versus the competition. So the history, I mentioned that we were created in 2017 in the state of Washington. We've actually enrolled more than 7,000 students to date. It's a big number, and we'll talk about our job placement or employment rate later on. But it's just to show you how far along we've come since the start of the company. We've launched 1,500 bootcamps, and we're launching new bootcamps every 5 weeks. You probably see that on our website. We have more than 300 instructors with us who are actually full-time, full-stack developers or web developers in the industry, and they do that on the side with us. And every Saturday, you'll hear us talk about the Saturday workshop and that live engagement that you have with your instructor. We run about 100 of those live workshops every Saturday. So we're a well-oiled machine, I would say, with a great student satisfaction score. If you check us out on Career Karma, Course Report, you'll see how students are really appreciating what we offer them. And I must say, none of those reviews are paid by us or written by us. All we do is we ask students, do you want to share your thoughts with others? And they do. And so that's what you see here. So you'll join us, and you'll join us for the full extent of preparing you to a new career. And so it's going to start with one of the 3 coding bootcamps. Often you'll actually start with the web development fundamentals to then move on to the next. But once you're done with your coding education, you're going to then start the career development services. And we'll get to that in a minute. But we need to think of it as a full package. All in all, the whole thing could really last 6 months. If you're a pure beginner, you're starting with the web development fundamentals, to spending 6 weeks in the career development services, it could really take you a full 6 months. So it's a very immersive, lengthy, I would say, and in a good way, lengthy, so that you really get all the tools you need to change careers. So let's talk about the 3 bootcamps. As I mentioned, you have the very first, the web development fundamentals, which really is tailored for complete beginners. In 4 weeks, you're going to get a sense of the foundations of the web, and you're going to know as well, okay, is that for me? Do I like it? Do I want to continue on? By the way, Gani will actually go into much more details into what makes those bootcamps and what technologies you're going to learn. So stay tuned for that. And then you're going to choose between front-end and full stack. The only difference really between the two is one additional module at the end. So you don't have to register for both. You just pick one. And so you're going to spend 17 weeks in the front-end bootcamp, or you're going to spend 22 weeks in the full stack bootcamp. And by the way, if you pick front-end, you can later decide to move on to full stack as well. And again, Gani will go into more details around that. And as a reminder, don't forget, ask your questions online on YouTube, as well as on Facebook. We are looking at them right now. I see, Can, that you have a question. We'll get to that in about 20 minutes at this time. So ask your questions. We launched the Fair Student Agreement in December, and we're very pleased with that because we wanted to do something about students who could not afford, our payment plans, which today is like $350 a month. It's still a lot of money to find every month. And so we also didn't necessarily appreciate the income share agreement that are becoming very popular, to be honest with you, but come with a tons of caveats. And there's a ton actually to be said about the contract that you have to sign when you're signing up for an ISA, and not necessarily reading that contract fully and not necessarily realizing what you're getting into. Without getting into those details, I mean, we have a blog post on our website. You can check it out. But we really don't think an ISA is a good deal. Absolutely not. And it's a little bit like entrapment from an economical standpoint. So we wanted to provide an alternative to that, which was fair to the student. And so we have those loans, pretty much. They are traditional student loans that are fully legal compared to the ISA, which are not in many states. And really can allow you to join our bootcamp for $8 a month while you're learning. And then you'll have to repay $85 to $100 a month for like 12 to 18 months. So we think it's a great deal. There's really no hidden clause. The contract is pretty straightforward. It's supported by the government agencies and things like that. So that's what you have access to. It's a very traditional loan. So that means there's a credit check, but our partner, Climb Credit, actually has recently bended those credit check rules to make it even more accessible for people who may actually otherwise may not be accepted just because of credit. So if you've been declined in the past, you should try again, because those the decision criteria has changed and evolved a little bit to allow more people to get in. The curriculum format. So the way it works is you're learning online from Sunday to Friday at your own pace. At your own pace doesn't mean that you don't have structure. You actually know exactly what you're supposed to do every day. You're doing that part of your classroom with maximum 12 students. So you're doing that not alone with 12 other students. And your instructor is available as well. Your instructor is there to help you during those times. But what's great is you don't have to quit your job. If you have kind of odd hours, like you're working shifts, you can still do the learning like everybody else, right? You don't fear to be missing a live lecture, like if that doesn't work. So you're going to be able to really learn at your own pace from Sunday to Friday. And then on Saturday, we have a workshop, a live workshop, 4 hours long, with your instructor live, with your classmates. And you're going to work on the end of week project. And that's going to be very involved. You're going to be coding pretty hard. You're going to need the support of your instructor then, which is why it's live. And that's one of the requirements of the bootcamp is you need to be able to make those 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Saturday for a long period of time. Now, because we're online, you can pick a different time zone. So if 9 a.m., 1 p.m. Eastern time, for example, doesn't work for you, well, you could pick 9 a.m., 1 p.m. Pacific time. We have those options and that flexibility. Thanks for your question, Nestor. Shimon, we'll get to those in about 15, 20 minutes now. And then it's a rinse and repeat. Every Saturday night, we open a new week. And so you'll get to learn that new material then. Nucamp will not be what it is without the exceptional instructors that we've recruited. And one thing that really makes them that really makes them stand up, I would say, is they are not in it for the money. They are compensated, of course, but because of our low tuition, we are not able to afford a great pay or a great compensation for those instructors. And so why they're with us is because they really care about Nucamp, the social mission, what we are setting up, what we are doing for our students. And they really teach in their region or city because they care about helping others. And you actually will see that as well in the students' testimonial, how much they appreciate their instructor for how much care and empathy and support they've delivered to them. Gani is one of them who's always received tremendous scores from students and then really decided and wanted to help them further after their coding education to actually be a coach and a career coach. And so you'll find that you're going to meet or be taught by about 4 to 5 different instructors throughout your bootcamp. And that means you're going to get exposed to a wide variety of styles and also experiences, because those instructors work full-time in the industry in different ways. They could be freelancing, they could be working in a startup, they could be working in a Fortune 500 company or a government agency. And so they're going to bring that wealth of knowledge and experience to you on top of the coding education. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Gani. But right before I do that, I want to ask everyone here a question, because we just released our new website and we want to know if it was all worth all the effort that the team put in it. And so if you have not checked out our website lately, it's at www.nucamp.co. Let me write it down. And if you remember, or if you went there like a week ago, you should see a difference. I'd love for you to tell us, like in the chat, do you like this new website more or less? Let us know. What could we improve? So, I mean, maybe don't do it now because you're on the live webcast. But if you've seen our new website, let us know in the chat. What do you think of it? Do you like it more? Do you like it less? What could we improve on that website? That would be really helpful to us to know if that new website works like we're expecting it to work compared to the previous one. All right, so Gani, thank you so much. Up to you now.
All right, thanks, Ludo. All right, so what is it like to become a web developer? So let's talk about that for a second. So JavaScript is #1 web development language for, I want to say, slightly above 5 years now, but roughly 5 years or so. A developer with MERN stack or JavaScript language knowledge. Usually you're starting at like junior web developer, in average of $70,000 or so. It totally depends on what was your previous career. You could actually end up making more or more than other folks, depending on what was your career in the past. Let's say, for example, if you were to work in a restaurant industry, let's say you were a manager at like Hyatt or something, and you wanted to work for a company that works with restaurants. So you end up making more money because you know how everything kind of works and such. So the previous experience also works with web development, and you could end up making more money. So that's just a small thought. We do have a blog article on Nucamp's website, so please check that out. That will give you more details on that. Ludo, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so let's talk about the curriculum, how the curriculum looks like as a student, or if you wanted to go for a full stack or whatnot. So we always have this one intro class. I specifically call it to get to know web development. So if you're a new student and you're, let's say, a lot of students that I have taught recently are teachers and restaurant workers, like waiters and such, or bartenders. So for them, they don't know what web development is. They know how to use a computer, they know how to use a phone, but they don't know development. So in this particular course, we will be talking more about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, how each one particularly works and creates a web page for you. This class in particular will be more like, hey, do I like web development? Is this something for me? Do I want to continue and whatnot? So from there, you have 2 tracks you can take. There's a front end, and then there's a full stack track. Now, both tracks are, I mean, individually, they could get you a job, but usually you have more opportunity if you were to do a full stack track. So when it comes to front end, so let's talk about that for a second. Front end, first we will start with the Bootstrap. It's a 5-week course. So intro course, web development, it's a 4-week course. So Bootstrap is 5-week course. We start with that. So we go through a framework called Bootstrap. It's been around for so long, originally created for Twitter. Now, Bootstrap helps you create HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's pre-written for you, so all you need to know is how to use the framework properly and be able to create a website quickly. From then, we will move into React. So React, also 5-week. We'll learn more about how to code using React.js. Okay, React also helps with creating websites quickly. So in React, we can use Bootstrap, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, all that stuff. So as we go along, we keep using the technologies we learned in the past. React Native is for mobile. So it actually helps you create a mobile application that can be deployed to iOS or Android app stores. Or you could create a responsive website. So it's totally up to you how you want to handle that. But you have that knowledge. We'll teach you that knowledge to use it as you please. Now, that will be your front-end track. Now, if you wanted to go with full stack, which means learning the server side, you will continue to the next class, which is your Node.js Express and MongoDB class. So in this particular class, you will learn how to use backend programming, you will learn how to use your database, and you will learn how to use a server properly. So doing things with the server, actually launching your website from nothing to full website, and how to make it go live and such, so on and so forth. Now, the difference between front end and full stack is that I usually kind of describe it in a manner where anything you can touch as a user is considered a front end. So anything that you can interact with. And back end will be something where you can't actually do anything with it, or you don't see it as a user. So really important for you to actually create a full website. So if you want to create a full website, then you need to know full stack. But if you just want to learn something so you can get a job, you can start with front end and see if you want to go with full stack or not. Okay, so that's just a little bit background. Okay, Ludo, next slide, please. All right, so once we are into our HTML fundamentals class all the way through backend, we work on multiple projects. So there's 22 weekly projects. Every week on Saturday, we work on a project. It's challenging you to code for what you have learned throughout the week. Instructor is right there with you, and other students are right there with you. So we code 22 different projects throughout the course. And then also there's 3 portfolio projects that we work on. So we start with the portfolio project in Bootstrap and so on and so forth. We take it to the end. So within the projects, we are going to be using responsive websites with Bootstrap. We will also be working with dynamic websites and mobile app with React and React Native. And then we'll integrate it with backend using Node.js, Express, and MongoDB, also database as well. So we have a bunch of projects that that students worked on. So Ludo, if you could go through a few projects for us, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can actually check out those projects as well on our YouTube channel. So I'm there on YouTube. I'm thinking you can probably see that. So you're going to find a playlist that's student projects, and we're adding more projects every 5 weeks as we graduate students. One that I like very much is, let me actually pause this one. You'll find a wide variety of projects. This one is pretty impressive. It's a student who actually built a chess game. Not only he built a chess game, but he actually built a multiplayer chess game and allowed 2 users to really play over the internet using a library called sockets. So let me actually show you that at some point he brings, there we go. There we go. So we see him, you know, how he did that. So that's one project, pretty cool. There's more front-end friendly projects. Like this one is also pretty impressive. It's a Pokemon type of game. And so lots of work in the experience, you know, the cards, the Pokemon cards. It's looking great. And it's also something I believe that has a backend that people can play together. You're going to find a ton more. Let me see if oh yeah, this one is a very sleek project. And what was really great during the graduation ceremony, when we had actually that student showcase his project, we actually had other students wondering if he was starting his own startup and asking to be employed as developers to help him out. So it's an HR type of project, and it really was snappy. There was animation. The UI was really well thought out, and it really felt like something professional already. So that was pretty great. So again, as I said, you can actually check out the full playlist on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, you can just do that as well. That'd be great. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Back to you, Zani.
Okay, thank you. All right, so what is our next schedule looks like? So to schedule your next class, we have our next class starting in 5 weeks. Early bird deadline is on the March 8th. We have 2 classes that are starting: front-end web development with mobile, front-end web with mobile development, and then also full stack web with mobile development. Okay, so both are starting in 5 weeks. We do recommend that you register within your city or your region. So this way, whenever you know the classes are back in session in person, and you want to switch over to a particular class in session or in class, you'll be able to see the same students that you are seeing online. You should be able to see them in your class as well. Ludo, if you could go next slide, please. All right, so some of the scholarships that we offer, we recently started this new scholarship called Best Buy Bounce Back. It's for individuals that were laid off by Best Buy. So there's a scholarship available for that as well. New U is one of the scholarships if you were recently denied as a student from a student loan or for a student loan. The scholarship is for you. Warrior Rising, it's a military veterans scholarship. And then Reskill America, it's another scholarship that's available to you if you're affected by COVID-19. So we have 4 different scholarships that's available to you. If you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so as far as our graduation and employment rate goes, numbers are pretty impressive here. So employment rate, 78%. 78% of our graduates are employed 3 months after they graduate the boot camp. Our graduation rate is 75%, which means that the last 2 cohorts, either the full stack or the front end, they're graduating those 2 cohorts. So 75% graduation rate. 55% tried online before joining. So there are students that have joined other boot camp online and they did not get similar experience and they joined Nucamp. And either they did well or they are super happy with they joined this this Nucamp. So as far as women versus men goes, we have a ratio of 31% are students that are enrolled are women. So that's the statistics for you. So as soon as you graduate, career services is available to you as well. Now, we do start at front end. So you can, as soon as you graduate from front end course, you can start utilizing career services. So as Luda mentioned, that I am one of the career services coach as well. So we work on multiple things. There is no limitation on how many sessions you can have with a career coach. The only limitation is that you can only have 1 session per week. It is to make sure that we have sessions available for all the students. So not to even mention, I have one at 3 o'clock today in a few hours. So when it comes to career services, we do multiple things. We walk through how to fix your resume. We walk through how to fix your LinkedIn, Indeed, how to apply for jobs. We'll create some job alerts for you. And I will be talking about how to look for the requirements for a job. So when it comes to applying for a job, I specifically always focus on quality rather than quantity. I don't want you to apply for 200 jobs and get 1 interview. I'd rather have you apply for 5 jobs and get 5 interviews. So this way also you're getting like some sort of a interview experience or exercise. So when you're ready for your amazing job that you applied for, you're actually ready for that. So we'll talk about that as you graduate. We'll talk about that in career services. But that's just a gist of it. We also have hackathons that happen. I believe, Ludo, is that every 4 weeks, or how often do we do hackathons?
Actually, there's new hackathons every 2 weeks, and so yeah, you can do multiple a month. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so we have some success stories from our graduates, Emily and Isaiah and Jason. So not to mention, Emily was one of my students as well. So she actually ended up getting an amazing job after 15 years of working at some place.
Oh, I didn't realize that, Gani. It's great.
She was one of my students. Again, as a student, you can tell that someone's excited. She was a single mom, or she's a single mom, with the kids and such, you want to make sure you have that opportunity available for your kids. And one of the most exciting things for her was that she was making more money. She was working less, being able to spend more time with her kids, taking some time off, got insurance. So she was really happy about all that stuff. So that's one I personally know. So Isaiah, I don't know Isaiah.
Yeah.
Sure, he. Yep. Go ahead, Ludo.
I can talk about Isaiah a little. What was really interesting with Isaiah is he actually found a job after graduating through our job board. So we posted a job board opportunity. It was a company who reached out to us, Scott Financial, because they were looking for talent and they were competing, with the Microsoft, the Facebooks, and they could not find developer in a way that they could also afford them. And so he got that first job with Scott Financial like that. And then Jason, what's really interesting is he was a high riser window washer. So those folks who climb the big tall buildings and do a rappel rope and kind of wash the windows like that. That was his job. The pay is not too bad when you do that, but it gets old pretty fast. And so he really wanted to do something else. And he got a job. So he's one of the few, not few, but you can expect that it's going to take a while. Emily getting a job before graduating is kind of the exception. But Jason, it took him 4 months. But after 4 months, he did get a great junior web developer job. And he's done with the high rising stuff. It's just, rock climbing now is his thing, I guess.
Yeah, I'm actually scared of heights, so that job.
Yeah, I will not do that, never. All right, so we're at the time where we're going to take your questions. Thank you, Gani. So both of us, we're going to actually stop the sharing here. There we go. So Gani, we're going to take those questions that we have on YouTube and Facebook. I don't know if you want to start with, if you've seen one that you would like to start with, and then we can alternate, you and I.
Sure. I think there's a question about how can I pay $1,000 and divide the rest of the money in 6 months? How can I do that? Thank you.
Yeah. So what's really interesting is once you've paid $1,000, you don't have a lot to pay after that. So sometimes actually students will pay in full, and that will be for the full stack 1,880. We don't really have a mechanism for you to pay $1,000 up front and then the rest, which is 880 over a 6-month period of time. But we can figure out how close you will get to actually be either paying in full or just paying the installments that we have by default, which is, and at no additional cost. You can just pay $376 a month for 5 months. And so that's another way so that you keep your cash, you can keep the 1,000 and actually spend that 1,000 for over 3 months. So that's what I would suggest.
Okay. Another question I see here is for the full stack bootcamp, what are some of the requirements? Also, would desktop computer be acceptable since courses are online?
Yeah, it's a great question. Do you want to take it actually? I'm sorry, Gani. You want to?
That's fine. That's fine. I was going to say, so the only requirements, actually, we have the requirements listed, right? So
it's on the FAQ on our website.
Yep. So you would know exactly what kind of computer you need. So when it comes to full stack, the only thing we suggest is that you use something that's a little bit more, I think we have a kind of a price range. Anything above $500, $600 is usually good. Just because we'll be converting your computer into like a small light server. So your computer needs to be able to handle that, the load for it. So, yep.
And if it's a desktop, it's a great point because desktop usually are less expensive than laptops. But yeah, you typically want 8 gigabyte of RAM, a decent processor. So not, the processor from Intel, not the very first version, but something a little bit higher. You really want a fast hard drive. So SSD is kind of the norm now. Shaman is saying, hey, you're starting on March 22nd. This is great. When you're getting onto our Slack, just say hi to us. Gani and Ludo on Slack, just say hi to us and we'll celebrate that for you.
Awesome. See two flagship courses. There's front end and full stack web development. Does it matter which one you choose? So it does kind of matter. So full stack is teaching you front end and back end, but just the front end is only teaching you front end. So I think I kind of already answered that question in one of our slides.
Yeah, and you can actually switch from front end to full stack if you decide to do so. So it does matter because you want to know if you're a front end developer or full stack, but you can switch.
Okay. So the question in regards to course material being available after registration. So there's a reason, Shimon, for that, because we want you to start with the other students as well at the same exact time. Also, your instructor is going to be ready as well. So as you go through the material and you have questions, you will be part of the class that's following the same curriculum. So as a instructor as well. So if you have questions while you're going through it, you're going to be asking those questions. So just like any other course, if you were to register, you wouldn't get the material from day one because it did not start yet.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, this is really the value of what we offer is that level of structure, the support from your instructor, working and collaborating with other students. This is why people choose Nucamp versus just doing it online on their own. So yeah, you would want to wait until you actually start with others to really start. There's a few questions about starting in June. So let me actually bring back the website and show you how you could actually sign up for June. Let me share the screen again. So this is on your website. And so I would say just go to view bootcamps in your community. And then here, so it stops, okay, gotcha. It stops in May here, but here's a trick. If you go to view bootcamp details here, you're gonna have more dates. No, you won't. Dang it. Okay, so I got you now. We have one in June. Let me see if it's available in your city. Maybe you'll actually have more luck if you register in your own city. So that's where I live. There you go. So it's July, it's not June, or June. So we start May 31st, which is kind of close to June, or July 5th. But yeah, you will have those dates. So, okay, that's it. So if you want to start in June, actually, you're likely you'll start May 31st. That's June enough, I will say, or July 5th. And again, pick your city and pick the right date. Let me check again what we have online. If I pick Pacific for me, then it's going to be May 31st. There you go. So May 31st is your best bet if you want to start in June.
Okay, great.
Okay, so thanks for the feedback on the website. Yeah, I wanted to know as well if you're using the dark mode. I'm one of the old guy out there who's not using dark mode at all. And we've noticed that when you look at the website using dark mode, the contrast is a little bit different. I wanted to know that. Whoa. All right, so let me take the question from Satish Gani. The question is, how can I make use of backend Node.js training course? And I think what you're asking here, when I read your previous comment, is, can you just register for backend? That's what I'm reading into your question. And the question is, no, you can't register just for one course. We don't have, a make your own meal type of thing. So you will want to register for the whole bootcamp, which again is very not expensive. And so sometimes actually the cost of the bootcamp will be as much as the cost of any other course that you'll find out there. So you may want to do that maybe. Do you see another question, Gani?
Yeah, do we use Angular and Vue? We don't, right? As of now, we don't.
That's right. We focus on React Native, like you said, Gani.
Yeah, so it's using the full MERN stack, but that doesn't include Vue or Angular.
Gotcha. So I see two questions actually very close to one another from Christina Emerson on Facebook as well as Can. on YouTube, and it's about data structures, algorithm, and whiteboarding. So let me answer precisely. So data structure and algorithm are taught throughout the bootcamp, but not very much touched on the web fundamental course. You will not get, I mean, you do get a little bit of algorithms when we touch on JavaScript then, but not a lot. I think that's really delivered across the front end of the full stack course. And so Christina, that goes the same for you. Data structures, algorithm, that's really injected as you learn about JavaScript, as you learn about JSON data, as you learn about backend and Mongoose, for example, you learn a lot about those data structures and algorithms. And then whiteboarding, you could actually schedule a session with your coach and ask to be specifically around interview prep and whiteboarding. So this is very much how students work with their coach. They schedule the time. It's a 30 minutes conversation, and you really can adjust the topic of that conversation to what you need for that moment. So it could be reviewing your LinkedIn profile or your resume, discussing strategies, as Gani mentioned, on how do I apply to jobs, or it could be whiteboarding as well.
Okay, Aludo, there is a question. I think you might be the best person to answer. Have you heard of Solo Learn?
No,
Solo
I've
Learn.
never. No, yeah, I've never learned about that. So it will be very hard to answer the question.
Yeah. I can tell you as much, Justin. We cover HTML, CSS, JavaScript. For Bootstrap, we will be going through your full node install. We will be going through SAS, and then we'll move on to React Native, and they're all using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, SAS, Git, GitHub, and then also when it comes to backend, we're using Express, MongoDB, and Node.js. Okay, so all that is using a light server, which is a server available with Node. So we'll be using that.
Great. Yeah.
So that's.
Thank you, Gani. There's a question from Gustavo that I connect with on YouTube, and then Son Kyun Kim on Facebook. And it's about pretty much the web development fundamentals and what do you learn there. So Gustavo, the web development fundamentals bootcamp is a separate bootcamp. It's not covered in full stack. And so that's kind of a prerequisite, but actually the prerequisites is for you to pass a test. And so Son Kyun, we have a test online, and actually as you register, we ask you to verify that test. It's a 25 questions test. It's a JavaScript heavy kind of test. And you have to pass with 85% correct answers. And so that's going to tell you very precisely if you are ready to sign up to full stack, or if you should be learning JavaScript a little bit more, either on your own via online resources or by signing up to our 4 weeks bootcamp. And I think there was a question earlier as well regarding how much do you need to supplement in JavaScript before being ready? And so that's very much the answer. You take the test. If you hit the 85% correct answers, you can start with full stack. If you don't, you need to learn on your own or join our bootcamp. And the other answer is you always want to really go beyond what we have in the course and read the documentation and learn JavaScript. JavaScript could take, I would say, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months, a year, A to Z. Like, it's a beast. It's monumental. And so you'll learn JavaScript as you go through the bootcamp, after you go through the bootcamp, as you work on your project. So there's always going to be a little bit of supplement that you're going to need to bring.
Okay, there's a question from Helen. I think she meant to say CSS. Do I need to know CSS fully to do the full stack web and mobile app developer bootcamp? So we will be teaching you all the CSS you need to know.
Great.
Okay, I think you already answered the data structure question. How much knowledge in JS do I need to know to start the full stack course? So if you are new, I would say fundamentals. If you pass the fundamental class, you already know enough to start the full stack course. But fundamentals class is the beginning class. As soon as you take that, we'll actually take you through the whole curriculum. So we'll teach you as much you need to know to get through the whole thing. And I can tell you there's a lot. There's sometimes where a lot of students struggle. And it's a boot camp, so you should be struggling a bit. If you do not, then there's a problem.
Good one. Quick question from Chris: are M1 Max compatible with the software used in courses? It's becoming more and more compatible. I think if you sign up, and for March, it will be fully compatible. I remember seeing a thread around Visual Studio Code not necessarily running pretty well on M1 Max, but I think that has been fixed since. So there's that. Yes, more women in the bootcamp. We also want that. We actually just recently created a Women in Tech channel on our Slack, and it's very popular. So if you're a woman and you're thinking about joining the bootcamp and wondering if you're going to be part of a community, you will. Absolutely. And it's a very welcoming community of women in tech as well.
So there's a question from RLV. How many hours of studying per week? So the recommended hours, I think we say 8 to 10, right, Ludo?
Well, yeah, it's a little bit, I mean, for web development fundamentals, yes, 8 to 10. I would say as you go further into full stack, it could end up being 14 to 20, especially when you hit React. So you want to be planful for that.
Okay.
Question from PMOT Sibo. Very precise on algorithm and data structures, talking about DFS, BFS, binary search, binary trees. So these are very much topics that are in the computer science type of world that are very fundamental, algorithms that are taught to computer science students. We don't go that deep. We very much think of algorithm as, for loops, handling variables, conditions, all of that. That's the level that we touch. This level, though, we're thinking about it very hard, and we actually may have news about that, because we are going to bring something that is more of the likes of computer science fundamental bootcamps than web development that we have right now. So not yet, but keep an eye on what we do.
There's a question about the test before full stack program. So again, as Ludo and I mentioned, the fundamentals class, we want you to take it because we want to make sure every student that's coming into the boot camp is on the same exact pace. If you don't want to take it, there's a test for it that you can test out of it and start with the full stack program.
That's right. 85% correct answers. Question from, oh my God, Sigirada. Sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly. Can a high schooler do this program as well? Yes, I would say as long as he or she is 18 years old or older. So I don't know if that qualifies for high schooler.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I have taught a 17-year-old who wanted to take it as a, summer class.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, once you hit 18. Teresa is asking, is the 6 weeks career development program included in the cost? Yes, it is. It is right now. So we've rolled out, it's actually quite fairly recent, the inclusion of career coaching. We've rolled it out back in November, I think, Yanni, was it? Oh, November, I think it was close to November, right?
Yep.
And right now we are absorbing the cost of it. We are monitoring how it goes. If there's a huge, use in terms of hours, we may need to increase our cost a little. But so far, so good, it's not. So maybe you register now and you'll know it's going to be included for free.
Again, is the intro course requirement? Yes. As I said, we want to make sure that you are starting with that minimum knowledge that you need to get going. Again, there's a test to test out of it if you don't want to take it. I do know that a lot of students who test out of it, they still prefer that they took the class to make sure that everyone is on the same exact pace. we do teach you a lot of CSS and JavaScript in that first course, the fundamental course, which sets the nice base tone for the rest of the courses.
There's a question on Facebook from Alejandra. When will in-person classes start in Dallas? But my answer will be for pretty much everywhere. We are hoping to reopen in-person across the US in the fall of this year. That's our current plan. And that's also when, you know, everyone will feel safe, vaccinated, and all that. So that's right now where we stand on this. And I know Texas is actually going fast in trying to reopen the state. But yeah, that's right now across the US, our plan is to get back to in-person, hopefully, fingers crossed, in the fall.
So
and you can register now and be, join in person later as well as we do that. So
question in regards to video tutorials and documentation. So yes, it is recorded video tutorials. Now, video tutorials do ask you to follow a exercise. So you would have to be coding with the video tutorials. And then you have access to a professor for the whole week, or actually throughout the whole curriculum. And then we do Saturday, we do our workshop classes. And just to reiterate that. Will front end land you a job? So the question is yes. There are a bunch of developers out there that are just straight up front end developers. I want to say up till 2015, 2014, JavaScript was kind of considered a front end development language until Node and NPM came out.
Yeah,
so
that's a great point.
As a front end developer, you would literally just know JavaScript, CSS, HTML. To be able to code and some frameworks, but now it's fully backend as well. So yeah, it will definitely land you a job if you yeah.
Great, thank you. Yeah, absolutely, Kenny. So we are 3 minutes away from the end of this webcast. So let me actually do a blitz answer of many questions that I'm seeing here, if you don't mind, Gani. So if I relocate to another Nucamp city, can I continue? The answer is yes. You can actually move your registration to that other city and then join those students locally. Oops. Geez. Well, actually, I didn't. For how long are the career services available for after graduating? Right now, there's actually no expiration date, I would say. But typically, we see students using them in like 6 weeks. That's also the length of our program, the learning program. So 6 weeks is what typically we expect. Question from Ryan: how much do you cover databases? So we really focus on NoSQL databases, and it's I would say it's a 3 weeks part of the backend course. So we touch on Mongoose, and how you actually create REST APIs using Node towards that. Ryan is right. You're never too old to start learning code. There was a question about, hey, can I do gaming after going through this bootcamp? So I've actually seen people using JavaScript to build games and online games as well. But it's typically not the curriculum you will pick to do that. If you really want to do gaming, typically you learn Unity, which is another framework. And so I would say you could. It's maybe not the best approach to learn to develop games.
There's a question in regards to the scheduling, Monday to Friday or evening. Do you want to take care of that, or you want me to answer?
Yeah, so the schedule Monday to Friday, and actually we like to say Sunday through Friday. There's no day off when you're joining a bootcamp. It's on your own, meaning we tell you exactly what we expect you to do every day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but you can actually squeeze that time and learn at the time of your choosing. Meaning if you have odd hours, as I said, you don't have to attend a scheduled event, which is also why people choose us, because you know how it feels. If there's a scheduled event that you miss, suddenly you feel behind. So the only scheduled time is Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the time zone of your choosing. And so the same reason we don't have really evening classes. The only set time is Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then the rest of the time you learn on your own schedule. Is there an official, and we actually we close to the end. Let's see if I can take those last ones, Gani. Official certification, we have a certificate, which is, certifications is really provided by, industry vendors like Microsoft. You get a certification. Coding Bootcamps offer certificates. Satish, we don't do massive data using ETL. That's more data science type of stuff. So that may be covered later in the data science curriculum.
So I think I was trying to answer Latoya's question in regards to going straight from fundamentals to full stack. Yes, you can. You can do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's meant to be like that. So we're actually at the end of this webcast. Gani, I want to thank you for joining me again today. Everyone online, thank you for joining us. Remember, the early bird deadline is Monday to register for the March 22nd bootcamps. So don't miss that. Register before then. And once you're in our bootcamp, just say hi on Slack. It'll be a pleasure to see you and help you change careers. All right, everyone, take care. Thank you, Gani. See ya.
Thanks.